Hi, welcome to the first ever demo for How's Your Board? My name's Rob, and today I'm going to be demoing two excellent distortion pedals. Number one, we've got the MXR Distortion Plus. My version of this is a late 70s, early 80s block font version. Second pedal is a TYM Guitars copy of the DOD Overdrive preamp pedal. TYM makes some excellent clones, so I'm using this as essentially a faithful representation of the original unit. Now these two pedals are related. According to TYM, they came out a year apart from one another. There's a bit of uncertainty as to who ripped off who, but certainly there was some ripping off going on because they're incredibly similar. That said, they do have their own nuances. They both have a different set of strengths. So based upon the sort of music that you want to play and what have you, you could go one way or the other. There isn't a clear winner. To start off, I want to demo this with both pedals at full blast. Usually demos go the other way around. They start with some, really tasteful tone and then kick it up. Let's start really heavy, or as heavy as you can get out of these pedals, which is, a respectable amount of heavy. So we'll start with the MXR Distortion Plus. I'm playing on an Ampeg Dan Armstrong reissue using the humbucker pickup, and I'm going through a PV Classic 50 amp through a Marshall 1960A cabinet. By the way, there's no video component, as you would have noticed by now. This is because I don't have a good enough camera that I think would pick up the sound faithfully, so I'm instead using a digital zoom recorder and just putting some, still picture over it. So whatever, it's going to be boring to watch, but hopefully you get something out of it. Okay, well, I really hate when people who demo stuff talk for ages, and I've just done exactly that, so I'm going to shut up and play something. And seeing as this is a Dan Armstrong, let's start with some Black Flag riffs. I'll start with the MXR Distortion Plus, but first, the clean sound. Okay, yeah, pretty gainy. It's got that classic 80s hardcore sound. Now let's move on to the TYM. Now, cover your ears, because I'll give away one secret that this pedal has. It's a lot louder than the MXR. So here we go. A lot more oomph on that one. A lot more of a modern sound, if I do say so myself. By comparison, I'd say the MXR at full blast sounds like the DOD at full blast, but if you put a blanket over the speaker cabinet, it's just not as present as the TYM pedal. Let's approach this slightly differently. We've done the heavy sounds. Let's switch guitars. Let's switch settings. Let's get both of these with the gain at 12 o'clock. And we'll switch to something with some single coils. I've got a Fender Jazzmaster at the ready. Let's try and coax some Hot Snakes, Rocket from the Crypt, Wipers. If we dial in a bit more reverb and go for that sort of over-the-edge sort of tone. Now, this is where I feel the Distortion Plus has the advantage. But, decide for yourself. Okay, Fender Jazzmaster. I've got the switch in the middle, bridging the two pickups. because personally that's my favorite sound you can coax out of these guitars. And tell you what, it really works well in conjunction with these two pedals. So I'm just gonna dial back the gain. So it's pointing straight up at 12 o'clock. And we'll go in the same order as we did before. MXR first. Now, we've got the TYM pedal at half. Bit of an unfair fight, because once again, this thing's got a bit more gain on tap, a bit more volume, but let's see how it compares with the settings exactly the same, knowing that this one's a bit of a bully and pushes the other one around. That's the TYM DOD clone. It was still a little bit too gainy for my liking at half on both units for that sort of tone. But let's not try and play that one again. What I'm going to do is dial up the reverb a little bit. Yeah, a little bit more than that even. There we go. Alright, now let's dial it back to, let's call it 1030. Let's try this with some wipers. The Distortion Plus, I do believe, is what Greg Sage used back in the day, and if not, does a hell of a job of doing what he used to do. So here we go. MXR first. Yeah, that pretty much nails it. It's really got the right character for that sort of sound. This is where the TYM starts looking a bit like it's not doing as well as the old school MXR. Because yeah, this thing really has one setting, and that's kick your ass. Let's try this with the reverb and playing some wipers. Tell you what, it didn't sound as authentic, but it still sounded pretty cool. If anything, this at about 10-10-30 sounds like the Distortion Plus at half. So yeah, they've got a lot of similarities to them. I still argue that the DOD clone has a bit more of that presence and like mids and a bit more high to it. But yeah, very, very similar pedals, and you can tell. So yeah, take your pick, leave your impressions in the comments, and yeah, thank you very much for watching or listening.